So in my last video, I was explaining that on these triangle pieces, I cut this off. You see how much longer that is? Well, I cut this off so that when you open it up, there isn't so much corner in the end. Still a little bit, because you don't want to cut off your knot on the end, so there's still going to be a little bit of a corner, but you got to fold this in about 1/2 inch. And I wanted to say too that I mentioned a couple times on the thread that I'm going to paste a link to this video on, that I was going to be sewing at 1/2 inch, but I decided to do more. I'm actually using the 5/8 mark, and so even though I switched up what I'm going to be doing, as long as I do all my pieces at the 5/8 mark, it'll all still come out an even sections. So it's okay if you switch it up. Just make sure when you switch it up, you use the exact same guide every single time on all your pieces. And that's what I did. I decided instead of sewing it at the 1/2 inch, I was going to sew it at 5/8. So on the triangle pieces, I cut that off. I'm leaving it here. I'm about to iron these pieces. Now most people, when they go to iron, they choose which way they're going to fold this over. Usually whichever way it lays naturally, that's how they lay it. They iron it down really good, and they make sure all 4 sections, like I cut this one off too because this was a trial piece. That's why it's all sewed. These were not ready to be sewed yet. It was just a trial piece to make sure my machine and all of my squares were right before I continued. But anyways, what I would do here is pick a way to fold it over, iron it down. Same thing on the next piece, which would be kind of cornered. I'm going to make sure it all folds the same way down. That's how most people do it. Me personally, I like to spread it. I think it lays better like this. A lot of people don't like to do it that way because what happens is once you get the quilt together, it can pull apart more easy right there in the middle. And by folding it one way, making sure it all folds the same way, you can sew it down as you go so that it lays that way after you iron it down. So a lot of people like to do it that way. I just don't. I like the way it lays better when you don't have this double bulked right there. So that's just how I personally like it. And then it also helps me make sure that all my pieces are perfectly lined up, because you want these pieces to be, the seams on these pieces to be lined up when you're done with it. So I gotta iron all these pieces now, and I just wanted to show that.